Check 1, 2, 3. Abhishek, am I audible? Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on this today's webinar on wealth creation opportunity on manufacturing sector. I think we will wait for a minute or two. Let us allow few more participants to join in. So right now we are at 4 p.m. 2 minutes. So exactly sharp at 4 p.m. 5 minutes we will begin our presentation. And meanwhile, kindly please stay tuned for this webinar. Thanks for patiently waiting for us and joining us today for this webinar. So we will begin in next 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah. I think we can start with, I think decent number of participants have joined. So just let me introduce, first of all, welcome, I welcome you all again on behalf of SBI Securities for this webinar on decoding the manufacturing sector. So we all know that manufacturing as a sector is one of the future growth engine for Indian economy. So right now, manufacturing sector contributes close to 15% of the GDP, and it is expected that in the over the period of next 10 year, over the next 1 decade, this contribution to the GDP is likely to increase from 15% to 25%. And at the same time, one has to keep in mind that Indian economy is likely to jump from $3.7 trillion currently to close to $7 trillion by 2030. And on the top of that, on the top of increasing GDP, increasing contribution from manufacturing as a GDP contributor, that will lead to a massive increase in ecosystem for the manufacturing as a sector, and we will see a profit pool increasing substantially for manufacturing as a sector. When it comes to manufacturing, it's a very broad term, right? Manufacturing is a very broad term, and there are many multiple sectors which form this part of manufacturing as an industry. So you any capital goods company, engineering company, chemical company, auto ancillary. So anything which is manufactured in the factory is known as that comes falls under the ambit of manufacturing as a sector, and it's a very vast subject. So I think today what we will try to do is we will try to decode what are the various growth drivers for the manufacturing, which are the various levers, how government is supporting this sector, and then try to cover a very broadly with a focus on electronic as a sector and auto and going forward for the remaining sector, we will try to accommodate the remaining sector in the next webinar. So today the focus will be on understanding which are the various sectors which are likely to benefit out of this manufacturing boom, and with a focus on a few of the larger sector which are likely to benefit in short to medium term. So joining me today, my colleague and my friend Sumeet Shah. So he's a CFA by profession and very seasoned analyst. So he has been tracking this sector closely since many years. And without much ado, I would like to hand over the floor to Sumit. And Sumit, I think in terms of language, I think we can keep a mix of Hindi and English. तो आज हम जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर की बात कर रहे हैं, सिंस मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन इंग्लिश में दिया, मैं हिंदी में भी एक छोटा इंट्रोडक्शन दे देता हूँ कि आज का जो टॉपिक रहेगा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर को लेकर के रहेगा, और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है जीडीपी में आज के डेट में 15% है, और ये एक ओवरऑल जो जानकार लोग हैं, एक्सपर्ट इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं, उनका ये मानना है कि जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर का जो टोटल जीडीपी में कंट्रीब्यूशन है अगले 10 साल में 25% हो जाएगा। और हमें एक चीज ध्यान रखनी होगी कि जो जीडीपी करंटली 3.5 से 3.7 ट्रिलियन डॉलर है, ये अगले 7 साल में बढ़ करके 7 ट्रिलियन डॉलर हो जाएगी। तो एक तरफ जीडीपी बढ़ रहा है, जीडीपी का बेस बढ़ रहा है, और उस बढ़ते हुए जीडीपी बेस में जब हम कोई पर्टिकुलर इकोनॉमी का जो पार्ट है जैसे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन बढ़ेगा, तो कहीं ना कहीं इसमें जो पूरी इकोसिस्टम है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की, जितने भी सेक्टर सब सेक्टर हैं, उनका हम एक रैपिडली प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ होते हुए देखेंगे, सेल्स ग्रोथ होते हुए देखेंगे। तो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एज अ सेक्टर काफी ब्रॉड टर्म है, इसमें काफी सारी सब सेक्टर होते हैं। जो भी चीज फैक्ट्री में बनती है उसे हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में पकड़ सकते हैं, जैसे कैपिटल गुड्स हो गया, इंजीनियरिंग हो गया, ऑटो एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्रोडक्ट्स। इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में भी काफी सारे सब सेक्टर हैं। कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल है, जैसे वॉशिंग मशीन, रेफ्रिजरेटर, मोबाइल फोन, टेलीविजन। तो काफी एक डिफेंस प्रोडक्ट्स हो गए हैं, एरोस्पेस प्रोडक्ट हो गए, रेलवेज प्रोडक्ट हो गए। तो आई थिंक काफी ब्रॉड टर्म है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग। हम एक ओवरऑल एक कोशिश करेंगे हम आज अगले 30 मिनट्स में कि जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के जो की ग्रोथ ड्राइवर्स हैं वो क्या रहे हैं, गवर्नमेंट का क्या सपोर्ट रहा है, और एट द सेम टाइम जो दो से तीन जो बड़े सेक्टर हैं जहाँ गवर्नमेंट का सपोर्ट है पीएलआई के थ्रू, उसके ऊपर आज हम चर्चा करेंगे। और जो सेक्टर आज बच जाएंगे आज के वेबिनार के बाद, उसे हम अगली सीरीज में कवर करने की कोशिश करेंगे। तो आगे का जो पार्ट है सुमित यहाँ से प्रेजेंटेशन ड्राइव करेगा। सुमित एसबीआई सिक्योरिटीज में काफी सीजन एनालिस्ट है, एक्सपीरियंस एनालिस्ट है, और मैं ज्यादा समय ना लेते हुए सुमित से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि प्लीज यहाँ से हमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर के ऊपर जो आपने प्रेजेंटेशन बनाया है उसके ऊपर काइंडली हमें गाइड करें। ओवर टू यू सुमित।
Thank you, Sunny sir, for the introduction. So, good evening, everyone. So, manufacturing sector is slated to be the next big theme as far as next 5 to 10 years is concerned. And manufacturing sector में जैसे सर ने कहा, तो there are multiple subsectors. तो auto ancillary आता है, उसमें इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सर्विसेज, न्यू एज एनर्जी देख लो तो देर इज सोलर मॉड्यूल्स, देर इज विंड टर्बाइंस आते हैं उसमें, देन देर आर कैपिटल गुड्स एज वेल एज ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स एंड द पावर इक्विपमेंट, जो कि इन सब चीज़ों का अगर आप देखें तो लास्ट 10 to 15 years में डोमेस्टिक कैपेसिटी काफ़ी कम थी इंडिया में, and most of the goods were imported from China or other Asian countries. But now government is focusing on the manufacturing theme. One, to reduce imports, as well as to scale up exports, as well as domestic consumption. So that is how government as well as companies are focusing on increasing their domestic manufacturing. तो शुरुआत करते हैं. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, India currently ranked fifth in terms of GDP, in world GDP, and is poised to move on to the number three position by 2028. So Germany को overtake करके India will be the third largest economy. करीब $6 trillion by 2028, and target है $7 trillion economy by 2030. तो ये एक इसको ड्राइव करने में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर वुड बी द की थीम. मूविंग ऑन टू, ये इंडिया का हिस्ट्री है इन टर्म्स ऑफ द एनुअल जीडीपी ग्रोथ. एंड पोस्ट कोविड हमने देखा है कि वी आर स्केलिंग अप प्रिटी वेल. तो कंसिस्टेंट 7.5 to 8% जीडीपी ग्रोथ, एंड इसमें भी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर इज ड्राइविंग इट. तो अगर आप 2003 to 7 period भी देखे, तो that was again a high GDP growth period, and driven by manufacturing. तो manufacturing growth was consistent at 8%, and even touched 18% by 2007. And that was when the global financial crisis happened. Recession आया दुनिया में, and then there was a lean period for the next 4 to 5 years. But again, now post COVID, all countries are focusing on reducing their dependence on China, and India government support भी दे रहा है to set up new manufacturing capacities. तो that is going to help scale up our manufacturing. तो ये है कि एशियन इकोनॉमीज जो हमारे पीयर है, इसमें थाईलैंड, चाइना, वियतनाम, इंडोनेशिया, ये सारे कंट्रीज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में ऑलरेडी स्केल अप कर चुके हैं इंडिया से पहले. तो अगर आप देखें, इनका जो हाई ग्रोथ फेज था फॉर ईच कंट्री, एंड इनका जो जीडीपी ग्रोथ एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर का कंट्रीब्यूशन था इसमें, तो ऑन प्रिटी मच सिमिलर लाइंस इंडिया इज वेयर, इंडिया वही सिचुएशन में है आज, and that is going to help increase the share of the manufacturing in the GDP of India. So case in point, China in the 1990 to 2005 का जो हाई ग्रोथ पीरियड था चाइना में, उसमें उसका चाइना का रियल जीडीपी ग्रोथ था 9.8% एनुअली इन द हाई ग्रोथ फेज. एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का शेयर जो 1990 में 9.1% पे था, वो जाके 2005 में 32% हुआ. इंडिया का अभी 15% है. टारगेट है टू टेक इट टू 30% बाय 2030. तो इसमें सारे सेक्टर्स हेल्प करने वाले हैं, नॉट जस्ट 1 or 2 सेक्टर्स. देयर आर मल्टीपल सेक्टर्स एज हाईलाइटेड अर्लियर. मूविंग ऑन टू, तो फैक्टर्स कौन से हैं जो कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को हेल्प करेंगे बढ़ाने में. तो एक तो है फेवरेबल डेमोग्राफिक्स एंड लार्ज कंज्यूमर बेस. तो इंडिया में ड्यू टू इट्स लार्ज पॉपुलेशन, ड्यू टू लार्ज वर्किंग एज पॉपुलेशन एंड अ मिडिल क्लास पॉपुलेशन, तो इंडिया में कंजम्पशन के लिए देयर इज अ लार्ज बेस. देन अगेन exports can be scaled up. Second is lower logistic costs. So government has built a large scale infrastructure in the last 10 years, not just roads but also railways as well as seaports की capacity बढ़ाई है. तो that is also helping in scaling up manufacturing. Stable political regime, then favorable government policies. तो multiple schemes have been brought about. तो PLI scheme हो गया, sector specific schemes जैसे इंडिया सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन जो रिसेंटली अनाउंस हुआ है, देन ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पॉलिसी, बायोफ्यूल एथेनॉल पॉलिसी है. देन इंडिविजुअल स्टेट्स भी हेल्प कर रहे हैं टू स्केल अप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. तो various state governments are offering discounts and as well as rebates on the various taxes and duties, giving up land at cheaper rates, providing electricity, water 24 by 7. तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स ऑल्सो compete कर रहे हैं आपस में टू अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. देन लोअर कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स रेट. तो 2019 में इंडिया का corporate tax rate was reduced to 25%, and that helped companies set up new manufacturing plants. इसमें for new companies जो कि नए plant डाल रहे थे उनके लिए 15% टैक्स रेट कर दिया था, प्रोवाइडेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्टार्ट हो 31 मार्च 2024 के पहले. तो दैट विल ऑल्सो हेल्प कंपनीज बिकम कम्पिटिटिव. फिर है शिफ्ट इन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फ्रॉम चाइना, यूरोप, नॉर्थ अमेरिका. तो ये सारी कंट्रीज अभी हाई कॉस्ट कंट्रीज कहलाती है. तो दी कॉस्ट बेस हैज इंक्रीज्ड इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. तो लेबर कॉस्ट हो, एनर्जी कॉस्ट हो, दैट ऑल हैज इंक्रीज्ड, which has led to India becoming an attractive manufacturing destination. And lastly, import substitution. तो गवर्नमेंट ने काफ़ी चीज़ों पे import restriction डाला है, mandatory certification कर दिया है. तो all that is helping in scaling up manufacturing. So ये है the demographic dividend. तो India versus the other Asian manufacturing. तो population of course 140 crore population of India. Out of that working age population देखे तो 94 crore, which is a huge base for attracting skilled workforce to the manufacturing sector. And इसके comparison में there is only China, जिसका story already काफ़ी हद तक play out हो चुका है. Second is the middle class population. So 37.5 crore around people in the middle class segment, जो कि कंजम्पशन के लिए एक नेचुरल बेस बन जाता है. तो the manufacturing sector can easily scale up, and not just it does not just become dependent on exports. तो अगर आप देखें ताइवान, साउथ कोरिया, इंडोनेशिया, इनका अगर मिडिल क्लास कंज्यूमर बेस देखें तो दैट इज वेरी लो, एंड ये कंट्रीज ट्रेडिशनली डिपेंड हुई है एक्सपोर्ट्स पे. बट इंडिया एज सच has a twin benefit of both domestic consumption as well as scaling up its exports. फिर आता है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग वेज. तो in terms of dollar per hour, India is clearly at an advantage with around $0.8 per hour का जो wage है. तो natural availability है talent pool का, and skilled workforce, so that is helping in attracting low cost labor. इसमें again compared to South Korea or even say Thailand and Taiwan, India is at an attractive place. And lastly, the corporate tax rate, so which is at par with Asian countries, so that will also help in manufacturing. कमिंग टू जैसा पहले बताया, सो मैसिव अपग्रेड हुआ है इंडिया का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन द लास्ट 10 years. तो पोर्ट्स, रेलवेज, रोड्स एज वेल एज अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. तो पहले काफ़ी टाइम ड्यू टू पावर कट्स इंडस्ट्रीज को दे हैड टू टेक मैंडेटरी हॉलीडेज, बट नाउ सिंस एनर्जी इज अवेलेबल, तो the working days are higher, the productivity is higher, and better infrastructure also improves the competitiveness, and the cost भी reduce करता है. Coming to the PLI schemes, so starting 2020, starting 2020 गवर्नमेंट ने इंट्रोड्यूस किए PLI स्कीम्स. तो ये फर्स्ट स्टार्ट हुआ मोबाइल फोन्स में, एंड जिसका हाईएस्ट एलोकेशन था. तो एलोकेशन वाज एट 38,645 crore, एंड इसमें काफ़ी हद तक बेनिफिट देखने मिला है. तो एप्पल, एज यू ऑल नो, हैज़ अट्रैक्टेड इट्स 3 contract manufacturers to India. They have started manufacturing, and which is helping scale up the exports. Second highest allocation in terms of sector अगर आप देखें तो goes to the auto and auto component where close to 25,900 crore has been allocated. And this will cover zero emission vehicles, that is electric vehicles, as well as hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, as well as the advanced auto components such as EV components or components which have traditionally been imported into India but now will be manufactured in India. So this will benefit both auto OEMs as well as auto ancillaries. And इसमें benefit रहेगा for greater benefit रहेगा for auto ancillaries जिनका revenue base छोटा है, and that will help scale the revenue path quite rapidly. अदर सेक्टर्स भी तो नेचुरली इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड ऑटो एंसिलरीज हमारा आज का फोकस है. बट अगर आप देखें इन टर्म्स ऑफ एलोकेशन, सोलर सेक्टर particularly the PV modules that has also received higher allocation of close to 24,000 crores. Solar modules currently, if you see, are majorly imported from China at a low cost. But going ahead, companies such as Reliance Industries, Adani Enterprises, then there are other companies such as Avari Energies and other many other companies which are now setting up these solar module manufacturing capacities, taking advantage of the PLI schemes. Similar is the case with the pharma sector. So all the raw materials and the starting materials which are traditionally imported from China, again that sector has received an massive allocation of 22,000 crores. Then comes the advanced chemistry cell, जो कि EV batteries have batteries for electric vehicles as well as energy storage applications. So that again has attracted investments currently from Reliance Industries, but बहुत जल्द अभी phase 2 की applications भी आ गई है. तो yesterday only this was a news that companies such as Amara Raja, Exide Industries, JSW Energy also have applied under this scheme for the phase 2 of this scheme, and which will be allocated in a few weeks time post the elections. Then IT hardware again pertains to the electronic sector. So 17,000 crore allocation has been made. This is mainly catering to manufacturing of laptops and other IT hardware such as servers. तो data center में AI का अभी बहुत discussion hai, so that will aid in scaling up this manufacturing of servers as well as laptops. Then comes the telecom and networking products. So again 12,000 crore allocation where all the core telecom equipment, antennas, the routers and switches, इनका allocation भी काफी अच्छा है. Moving on to the next slide, तो food processing और technical textile में भी PLI allocation is about 10,000 crores, and this is mainly for ready to eat, ready to cook products, and basically ये agri and rural sector को काफी cater करेगा. Then comes technical textiles and man-made fibers. तो technical textiles such as fishing nets हो गया या all the nylon and the other non cotton polyester जो होता है, तो that government has focused on supporting that sector through the PLI scheme. इसमें again specialty steel, so a sub segment within the steel sector, so that has received a 6,300 crore allocation, and that mainly will cater to all the high value steel hai. तो coated steel products हो गए, steel for automotive as well as transformers, space and defense application के लिए जो steel use होगा, तो this PLI scheme will cover that. Then again white goods PLI, we have seen the benefit, so that is mainly for the AC components. In last 3 to 4 years, we have seen companies such as Havells, Voltas, Blue Star, companies such as Amber Enterprises, EPAC Durables, इन सभी कंपनी को eligibility मिली है in this PLI scheme. They have set up massive capacities in the last 3 to 4 years, and that will start playing out from FY 25 26. And again, medical devices, so devices such as your diagnostic equipment as well as all the radiation equipment, तो इसका भी ट्रेडिशनली इंपोर्ट होते रहा है इंडिया में फ्रॉम इन चाइना फ्रॉम यूरोप. So that again will help scale up the manufacturing in India. And lastly, drones, a small allocation, but an important allocation in terms of कि currently there is very little capacity and very few companies in this drone sector. But going ahead, ये भी एक emerging sector रहेगा. Moving on, तो in addition to electronics, तो within electronics जैसे हमने देखा there are 4 to 5 different sub sectors जिसमें PLI का allocation मिला है. And as India में manufacturing of electronics is increasing, तो अभी the government has introduced the India Semiconductor Mission. तो ये address करेगा the last raw material, the basic raw material of the electronics industry, which is the semiconductor chip. तो to reduce the dependence on China as well as Taiwan, जिनके बीच में already काफ़ी geopolitical issues चल रहे हैं, तो the government has come up with the India Semiconductor Mission. अभी इसमें भी there is the semiconductor fab, which is the full semiconductor plant. तो start होगा manufacturing from basic raw material, that is silicon, to the final chip, and where government will be providing up to 50% of the project cost as a fiscal incentive. तो इसमें already Tata Electronics को ये plant मिल चुका है, which they will set up in Sanand in Gujarat. Then there is ATMP or OSAT, which is packaging of the semiconductor. So again, here Tata Electronics, CG Power, then Keynes Technology, they have received the eligibility. यहाँ पे भी fiscal incentives रहेंगे. Moving on to the design linked incentive scheme, तो where software as well as hardware दोनों इन्वॉल्व होगा. एंड अगेन गवर्नमेंट इज सपोर्टिंग ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ 5 years टू help companies in this sector, as well as display fabs. So display bhi mostly are imported from China and other Asian countries. Currently no major player has applied for it, but going ahead, looking at the incentives that are being offered and the large consumer base, ये काफी help करेगा. Moving on to the PLI benefit is unfolding in mobile phones. So looking, if you look at here from FY15, import dependence जो FY15 में 80% था, close to now in FY23 it is just 4%. So 96% of the value of the mobile phone is now manufactured in India. Value addition हो चुका है. Exports भी काफ़ी rapidly scale up कर रहे हैं. तो 90,000 crore in FY23. Again FY24 में भी हमने देखा iPhone exports have scaled up quite fast. And overall production has increased. तो इंडिया का around 12% of Apple's iPhone supply अभी current contribute कर रहा है, and which is expected to increase to 25% in the next 2 to 3 years. Same thing is happening in the AC as well. So government in October or somewhere in 2020 imposed restrictions that you cannot import completely built units of ACs, and that helped in setting up domestic manufacturing capacity. So domestic production अगर आप देखें in the last 5 years has grown at 16% CAGR, while imports have dropped at a rate of 26% CAGR. And इसमें along with the restrictions, the PLI scheme also has helped. So this is helping scale up AC manufacturing in India. Coming to the favorable government policies, तो जैसे पहले बताया IT hardware में government has imposed restrictions. So the restriction has been imposed on import of laptops. Government has given a specific timeline to set up domestic manufacturing capacities. The same thing is happening in commercial refrigeration. So commercial refrigerators, maybe government has mandated mandatory BIS certification. Solar modules may again starting 1st April 2024, government has said that cheaper modules and solar modules cannot be imported. So that again will help scale up domestic manufacturing. And government is also putting such restrictions and certifications in other sectors as well. So railway ho gaya, then defense. तो गवर्नमेंट मैंडेट्स दैट मिनिमम 30-40% आपको इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चर करना है इस सेगमेंट में. दूसरे सेगमेंट में जहाँ पे ऑलरेडी कैपेसिटी एग्जिस्टिंग है इंडिया में, तो 50-60% तक का अभी डोमेस्टिक कैपेसिटी, डोमेस्टिक कंटेंट चाहिए. तो दैट अगेन is very beneficial for the manufacturing sector. Coming to the EMS sector, that is the electronic manufacturing services. So as highlighted earlier, India has seen quite a last 5 years has been quite beneficial for this sector. The electronic products manufacturing has grown at 16%, while the component manufacturing, जिसका ज़्यादा capacity नहीं है इंडिया में, that also has grown at 26%. And going ahead, both these sub segments are expected to grow at 27% for the electronic products, and at 50% for the components. So even the semiconductor chips, they will get start manufactured in India in next 3 to 4 years. So again, that will help in increasing the share of the domestic content. In terms of the subsectors, so mobile phones has been the biggest beneficiary and is expected to increase further as well. So around government has targeted total domestic electronic production of $300 billion by FY26, जिसमें mobile phones will again be the largest segment at $126 billion. Then there is industrial electronics, LED lighting, consumer electronics, which again will be a major segment, as well as some segments such as wearables and hearables, which is your Bluetooth earphones, telecom equipment, the PCB board, जिसमें अभी ज़्यादा contribution नहीं है, zero contribution है. That again will be a very major segment in by FY26. So coming to the companies in the EMS sector, so we all know Dixon Technologies and Amber Enterprises, which have been major gainers in the last few years. Apart from that, there is other companies which basically manufacture the PCB assembly boards, which do the assembly for the PCB boards, as well as provide other components such as plastic molding and sheet metal components. So PG Electroplast, Sirma SGS, Keynes Technologies, these companies are focusing not just on consumer electronics, but also on electronics for the auto sector, for the defense, for the industrial sector. So the opportunity size is pretty huge. The EMS sector in India as such is pretty huge, with multiple sectoral applications. As you can see, all these companies have signed up key clients in the last few years. Dixon is by far the leader, with a huge presence in the mobile phone segment, in the consumer electronics segment. Amber Enterprises from AC manufacturing has ventured into other consumer electronics as well as electronics for the railways. PJ Electroplast similarly from ACs to washing machines, as well as Sirma SGS and Keynes, which are now providing components for electronics, auto electronics, medical devices, as well as industrial electronics. So these are the stocks in focus in the EMS sector. Dixon Technologies, with a market cap of 47,250 crores currently. The opportunity size again keeps on increasing over here. Recently, the company has acquired another manufacturing facility of a Chinese brand in mobile phones, which again will help achieve economies of scale for the company. PG Electroplast and Amber Enterprises, besides focusing on ACs, have been scaling up in the other segments. Amber Enterprises has a huge focus on the railway electronics. It has even set up two to three JVs, one with Titagarh Rail, one with another company, to venture into all the electronics that will be used in the Vande Bharat trains. PG Electroplast again is focusing on washing machines as well as components for other electronics such as TVs and refrigerators. Then the recent listing, EPAC Durable. This is basically a supplier of AC to all the major OEMs in India, such as Voltas, Blue Star, Havels. And looking at the current demand of ACs in this current summer season, and with demand especially in the south and west growing at 100% year on year. So again, EPAC Durable could be a major beneficiary. And also one small AC manufacturer, that is Virtuoso Optoelectronics. It basically manufactures ACs for Voltas and mainly caters to the western India region. Again, these companies such as Sirma SDS, Keynes Technology, Avalon Technologies, as well as Cyan DLM, they focus more on the industrial side and the automotive side. So, automotive, industrial, medical electronics, these are their main customers, and they focus more on the high value addition electronics. So, products where जिसमें स्पेशलाइजेशन ज़्यादा लगता है, and where the margins are also relatively higher than say your traditional AC or a mobile phone. And ये companies also are more focused on the export side. तो इनका major revenue आता है from US, Europe, as well as the other Asian economies. And इसमें भी the companies are going into multiple segments. तो सिरमा SGS ने recently एक healthcare company acquire की है. Keynes Technology also is setting up the OSAT or the semiconductor packaging facility, which will help in diversifying its business. Avalon Tech again focuses more on the clean energy side, on the green hydrogen and the renewable energy side, and is majorly focused on the US market. Cyan DLM again majorly into the defense segment. तो इनके clients have Cyan DLM के major clients have from the US as well as the Israel region, and also the Indian major Indian PSUs are also the clients for Cyan DLM. NetWeb Technologies again focus करता है specifically on servers for data centers as well as AI applications. कंपनी ने ऑलरेडी एनवीडिया के साथ एक टाई अप किया है फॉर manufacturing its servers in India, and which also helps multiple Indian companies such as banks as well as other financial companies to set up their data centers. So EMS sector as a whole presents a huge opportunity. The industry itself is growing at 30 to 40% CAGR, and depending on certain segments such as railway electronics and defense electronics, which are again growing at a much higher rate of 50% and above annually. So EMS sector as a whole is poised for a multi-year growth, rapid growth going ahead. Coming to the auto sector, so auto OEMs as well as auto ancillaries, हमारा फोकस ज़्यादा रहेगा ऑटो एंसिलरीज पे, बिकॉज इवन इफ यू सी एट द PLI बेनिफिट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ कंपनीज को बेनिफिट ज़्यादा होगा फॉर द ऑटो एंसिलरी कंपनीज. Auto ancillaries is not a new sector in India. ये काफ़ी साल से है, and companies have been delivering products to global OEMs. तो नॉर्थ अमेरिका में जनरल मोटर्स, फोर्ड, यूरोप में वोक्सवैगन, Audi, Mercedes Benz, JLR. So most of these companies supply components to all the major OEMs in India as well as abroad. And the sector has grown at a CAGR of 8% in the last 10 years. So you had events like low automotive demand in India during certain years, particularly after demonetization, just ahead of the GST regime. We had seen a slowdown. Even during COVID, there was a slowdown for a few months, and then the demand just shot up. And looking ahead, also looking at all the PLI schemes, looking at the shift in manufacturing from North America and Europe, as well as from China to India, the sector is expected to grow at a annual growth rate of 11%. One additional trigger in this sector also is that historically companies फोकस करती थी कि वो इन हाउस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करे उनके क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजीज का. तो इंजन टेक्नोलॉजी हो गया, देन जो ड्राइव ट्रेन के कंपोनेंट्स है सच एज गियर्स एंड ब्रेक्स एज वेल एज दी स्टीयरिंग सिस्टम, ये ट्रेडिशनली कंपनीज फोकस करते थे टू मैन्युफैक्चर इन हाउस. तो एग्जांपल अगर ले तो सुजुकी खुद मैन्युफैक्चर करता था अपने प्लांट में, टोयोटा खुद अपने प्लांट में मैन्युफैक्चर करता था. बट नाउ कंपनीज आर मोस्टली फोकसिंग ऑन द सेल्स पार्ट एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग आउटसोर्स करते जा रहे हैं. तो अ लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज इन दिस सेक्टर विल डिस्कस अहेड. इन द लास्ट 2 to 3 years इनको ऑर्डर मिला है टू मैन्युफैक्चर दीज कंपोनेंट्स विच प्रीवियसली ये सारी ऑटो OEM कंपनीज अपने प्लांट में इन हाउस बनाते थे. But now they have received orders to manufacture these components at their facilities. तो इसमें if you see looking at depending on the part in the car or the two-wheeler, so we can broadly categorize into components such as forging and casting components, which are basically the axle हो गया, all the gear components. Then drivetrain and powertrain के components जो कि engine के components है, तो crankshaft, pistons, again the bearings हो गए. Then there is the suspension and braking products, so shock absorbers, brakes, the brake pads, electronics. तो इवन इन दी एग्जिस्टिंग कार जो पेट्रोल और डीजल पे चलती है, उनमें भी अगर आप देखें नाउ विथ SUVs बिकमिंग अ बिग शेयर ऑफ द मार्केट, तो गाड़ी के अंदर इन दी इंटीरियर्स देयर आर लॉट ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, लॉट ऑफ सेंसर्स, एंटरटेनमेंट screens. Then there is all these smart electronics जो कि door locking system and as well as navigation में help करते हैं. तो ये average ticket size बढ़ा देता है for the auto ancillary companies, and ये is even margin positive for the companies. Then there is other interiors and accessories. तो dashboard हो गया, the seats, premium cars में हम देखते हैं there are the seats are of very good quality. Then there is the cooling, so AC system हो गया. AC system में भी previously there were lot of imports, but now companies are focusing on manufacturing in India. And last but not the least, EV components. So DC converter, charger, battery management system, ये सारे products अब design as well as develop and manufacture हो रहे हैं इंडिया में. This is how broadly you can categorize the auto ancillary segment into different subsegments based on the application, based on the vehicle in which the part goes. So there are certain parts that go into two wheelers. There are certain specific components that are part of trucks as well as the tractor segment. So auto ancillaries again is a large sector. स्टॉक्स इन फोकस अगर हम देखें तो एस्कॉर्ट्स कुबोटा इज इन द ट्रैक्टर सेगमेंट tractor industry has been on a downtrend in the last year, but now IMD has predicted a normal monsoon, and agriculture sector as a whole expectation है कि FY25 में rebound करेगा. So that will help in the tractor sales growth. Then there are companies such as Uno Minda and Sona BLW. ये companies cater करती है mainly to the passenger vehicle segment as well as two-wheeler segment. Sona BLW is a specialist in the EV components. It has developed quite a few components. अभी recently company को 2 PLI मिली for the hub motor, जो कि एक crucial part हो जाता है for the electric two-wheeler. Then there is DIVG torque transfer, which is again into the drivetrain parts. इसका काफ़ी बड़ा business आता है from the likes of M&M, Mahindra and Mahindra, as well as North America में भी इसके काफ़ी major customers है. Then SJS Enterprises again is a very large player in terms of the aesthetics. So all the logos and all the as well as the car interiors that you see, SJS Enterprises is a major player in this segment. Moving on to Minda Corp. So this list is mainly for the two-wheeler companies. ये सारी companies mainly almost 60 to 70% इनके revenue आता है from the two-wheeler segment. तो Minda Corp है, Precol, ASK Automotive जो कि manufacture करता है the disc brakes. Then there is Endurance Technologies, again a major player in castings as well as shock absorbers. Gabriel India, also a very major player in the shock absorber segment. Gabriel India also caters to the SUV segment. So all the major SUVs are the customers for this company. Coming to the forging and the casting side, again this segment, Happy Forging, Forging, Ramkrishna Forging, these companies are not just now focusing on the CV and the truck segment, but अगर आप देखें तो they are even focusing now on the non-auto segment, तो oil and gas, defense, industrial हो गया, as well as the railway segment. तो रामकृष्णा फॉर्जिंग को ऑर्डर मिला है फॉर दी वंदे भारत के जो व्हील सेट रहेगा, तो उसमें जो बोगी फ्रेम है उसका रिसेंटली रामकृष्णा फॉर्जिंग को ऑर्डर मिला है. Then there is also the orders for the railway wheels जो Ramkrishna Forging has set up with another company. Alicon Castrol, again a major player in the aluminium casting segment, as well as Sansera Engineering, also a major player in the forging casting segment. Craftsman Automation भी एक major player है in the casting segment. Then there is JTKT India, which is largely a steering system manufacturer. तो इसका main client है Maruti Suzuki as well as Toyota, and with a Japanese promoter. And the company also is focusing on increasing its share with other companies. So M&M, Tata Motors company is also looking to increase its share over there. Then there is Lumax Autotech, again a major player in the automotive auto gear segment. तो काफ़ी cars आजकल they come with the automatic gear system, and Lumax Autotech is a major player in this segment, as well as Mayur Unicotas, which is again a major company in the artificial leather segment. So the seats and the car interiors, that material now comes majorly in artificial leather and not natural leather. So this again provides a big opportunity for Mayur uniquoters, and especially in premium cars. So the premium cars such as all the Volkswagen, Audi, as well as JLR, and now with Tesla also coming soon into India. So this could be a major beneficiary, as well as Sharda Motor, which is again into the automotive exhaust systems as well as other systems. So the opportunity size in this sector is huge. The Indian passenger vehicle market has been growing in high single digits. The two-wheeler segment has picked up, which was last few years के लिए it was in a downtrend, but now last year, that is FY24, was pretty good. Again इसमें प्रीमियम बाइक्स का शेयर बढ़ रहा है, तो रॉयल एनफील्ड एंड ऑल दी हार्ली डेविडसन एंड ऑल दी प्रीमियम बाइक्स are expanding rapidly. So that was the presentation on the manufacturing sector. It is a huge opportunity. We'll cover more sectors in further webinars, but we focused on the EMS and the automotive sector today. So we'll open the session for Q&A.
Yeah, so thanks, Sumit, for a lovely presentation. I will request everyone to put your queries in the chat box so that we can take one by one and try to address as many questions as possible over the period of next 10 to 15 minutes. As the Sumit has already discussed, that manufacturing as a sector is a very huge sector. And just to summarize, I think manufacturing is something which will grow at a faster clip as compared to any other industry in the economy. So it may happen that manufacturing may outpace, in fact, consumption growth. So India as an economy is gradually shifting towards the manufacturing as a base, maybe another factory to the world. So we all know right now China is a factory to the world, and India is aspiring to be that. And the reason being that government is also very keen on making India as a manufacturing hub, is because manufacturing has got a capability to absorb lot many guys in under the employment, and that is a need of an hour in India, where we are India as a country is a very young country. Many guys are getting graduated from colleges, and they all need employment, right? So we need to keep employment platter ready for all the youngsters who are passing out of colleges and schools, and with a favorable young demography, I think the labor cost and all the other factors falling in place, I think manufacturing is a sector to be in for next 5 to 10 years. And within manufacturing, again, it's a very broader canvas. Within that, as of now, government, the priority of the government is predominantly on electronics and auto ancillary, and those two sectors Sumit has covered in this presentation. Going forward, a few sectors like cap goods, engineering, which is again one of the very fast growing emerging sector, we will try to cover that in our next webinar on manufacturing sector. So let me, I think a few guys have shared the question. So let me start taking one by one. Yeah, so first question is from Amit Chatterjee. Thanks, Amit ji, for joining for this webinar. Please share the view on Gravita and Rishabh Enterprises. So I think, Sumit, I will take on Gravita, and meanwhile, if you can check for Rishabh. So Gravita, what has happened is that company is predominant into the recycling business. So earlier, company was into the lead recycling, and over the period of last few years, they have diversified into recycling of various metal product, plastic, and at the same time, they are on the verge of expanding their capacity in the next 2 years. So, if my memory is right, around close to 3.5 lakh ton per annum capacity, processing capacity is there, which is likely to expand to close to 4.5 lakh ton. So that will definitely lead to the earning growth. But one has to keep in mind that Gravita's operation is spread across Africa also, right? It's not a pure play India company. So they have got operations in various countries like Oman and so on and so forth, South African country. So to that extent, there is some risk also associated with that business. But in terms of valuation, I think at the current juncture, the stock is trading close to a fair value. So right now, if I can see, the market cap of the Gravita is close to 6,700 crore, and on a trailing 12-month basis, the company is generating profit of close to 200 to 50 crore on an annual basis. So trading at 39 price to earning multiple, I think right now trading at a close to fair value. Maybe buy on DP is advised. Maybe 5-10% further correction will offer a healthy margin of safety if somebody want to enter into this stock. The next talk is on Rishabh. Sumit, if you can take on this question, if you've got, otherwise I will look into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Rishabh Enterprises, I think is referring to Rishabh Instruments, which is the recently listed one. So this company is into manufacturing of measuring instruments, and so looking at the historical financials. So while the revenue growth has been decent with around 20% growth, the margins, particularly in the last year, that is FY23 as well as FY24 9 months, has been on a declining trend, and which is impacting the overall profitability. So that is an concern, and going ahead, but I think one will have to see closely, track the results before we can give a view on it.
And just to add to what Sumit has told, what I feel is that the predominantly the company is getting a majority of the revenue from Europe and Poland, and with that economy under stress, I think that is one of the reason for margin coming under pressure. Anyway, right now company the market cap of company is close to 1700 crore, and annualized profit is close to 50 crore. So trading at 33 times price to earning multiple, and there is as of now there seems to be no sign of recovery in Europe market. So what I would suggest is that as of now, if you want to create a new position in this stock, then better wait and watch. Let the quarter four numbers be out. Let us hear out the management in terms of their growth strategy for FY25 and 26, and then we can create a position in Rishabh Enterprises. I hope I have been able to answer your queries, Amitji. In case you have any further doubt, please feel free to post your queries in the chat box again. Next question is from Siddharji. Thanks, Siddharji. So you have been a regular participant in our webinar, and that's really heartening. And so moving on to your question, how USD INR levels affect manufacturing sector? So Siddharji, again, USD INR is something which impact import as well as export. Hypothetically assume a company which is into a manufacturing business and relies on 50% of its requirement on imported raw material, right? So in that case, depreciating rupee against the US dollar will increase the manufacturing raw material cost, and hence, in case there is no pass-through clause with the client, then that may hurt the margin for a company which is dependent on imported raw material. On the other hand, if a company is predominantly generating revenue from export market and rupee is depreciating at that point of time, then that company will be the beneficiary of the depreciating rupee against the dollar. A case in point, our pharma companies, many chemical companies are dependent on export as an revenue. IT companies, although IT is a services industry, not in manufacturing, I'm just trying to give an like to like example to understand the USD INR impact. So depend whether the manufacturing industry or the company is predominantly dependent on any imported raw material. At the same time, what is the impact on what is the contribution of export in its revenue pie? In some cases, the impact is very negligible because the exposure in terms of import and export sometimes knocks off each other. So to that extent, sometimes the impact is very negligible in terms of forex movement. So depends, vary from company to company and sector to sector. I hope I have been able to answer your question. In case you want to understand this impact, taking into account some particular company, then you are free to ask the question in the chat box. The next question is from Murthy G. Price to earning ratios are high. I think, sir, you are referring to our slide on companies on electronic manufacturing. So companies like Amber, Dixon, so on and so forth. So we agree that price to earning multiples are on higher side, and one round of re-rating has already happened in entire EMS as a sector. But one has to keep in mind that the growth market is always forward looking, right? So the growth which all these companies are likely to report over the period of next 3 to 4 years is the north of 25 to 30%. And a simple mathematics says that any company growing at 25% CAGR, the profit will double in 3 years. So in that case, if my current price to earning multiple is 80, and if I start looking at the numbers 3 years down the line, that price to earning multiple comes to 49 price to earning multiple. So till the time high growth is clearly sustainable, I think all these companies will continue to command an higher price to earning multiple. In case the growth falters below 30% or 25% kind of CAGR, in those cases we will see a kind of de-rating in all these companies. The classical case is HDFC Bank, right? So HDFC Bank earlier used to grow at 25% CAGR, used to convincingly command a 4 time price to book. Once the growth has tapered down and is in the band of 15 to 18%, we have seen the price to earning multiple shrinking from 4 to 2.5 now, right? So there is a typical market behavior. A fast growing company in a fast growing industry will see a classical re-rating. And once the industry saturate or achieve the high base, in that case, on that high base, continuing a 30-40% kind of growth is next to impossible. Growth rate comes down and we see de-rating in terms of valuation multiple. So this is a classical case. So right now, EMS as a sector or companies under EMS are under the massive growth phase, and at least I don't see any trouble for next 2 to 3 years in terms of growth for all these companies. And all these companies will continue to command an higher price to earning multiple, and we need to bear and make our strategy around that accordingly. The next question is from Malika Arjunji, how it helps to Reliance. So Malika Arjunji, I think Reliance is the epitome of manufacturing in India. And right now, only the company has diversified from only oil and gas sector to multiple stream right hence now. So recently we have seen that their new energy business is throttling on a full space, wherein they are venturing into the solar panel manufacturing. Green hydrogen is something where they have entered recently. At the same time, they have announced that they are going to manufacture synthetic rubber. At the same time, advanced chemistry cell, that is a new segment which they are into. I think ultimately the beneficiary of entire PLI scheme can be anybody. It can be Reliance, it can be any company which is applying into that. It's a formal process wherein companies need to apply for the production link incentive scheme. In case the government approves it, then based on certain turnover, they get certain incentive from the government. That is the kind of saving, 7 to 8% kind of saving, which helps the company to be competitive in the initial phase of the business where the capex cycle is very high. So I think Reliance is the beneficiary directly, indirectly under the multiple PLI schemes. And manufacturing is something which I think Reliance has got a very strong forte. In fact, Reliance has been gradually entering into the manufacturing of consumer businesses also, right? So recently we have seen they have acquired Lotus Chocolate. It's a very small company. So they have ventured into the manufacturing of chocolates also. So I think slowly and gradually, apart from industrial goods, they are venturing into the manufacturing of consumer goods also. So Reliance will definitely be one of the key beneficiary of the manufacturing boom in India. Next question is from Vinita ji, who is dealing with machine learning in automation mainly in the next 10 years. Again, Vinita ji, I think machine learning ML is a very broad term, and machine learning is something which I feel is nothing but an algorithm, right? So ultimately, or what we can say is a chat GPT. So something wherein the data is being fed to the certain program, and based on that data and repetitive instance, machines make certain conclusion and help the human being in various aspects. So I think machine learning is something which will definitely help. I feel the key beneficiary will be IT sector in that case. Both IT sector themselves, so companies like Infosys, TCS, HCL Tech, they will reduce their costs as the low end job, repetitive job will be replaced by machine learning. And at the same time, their clients will also benefit out of that because those machine learning practices will also be implemented at the client side. So there is no specific beneficiary out of that. I think the entire ecosystem, whether it is IT and IT ES related or any manufacturing setup, or where there is a day-to-day manual repetitive task is involved, that is something which will get replaced because of the machine learning. And there are few companies, companies such as Happiest Mind or Tata ELXE, KPIT. So there are few mid-sized IT companies which are focusing predominantly on the new age technologies, and they will be the key beneficiary out of the machine learning. Which are the companies manufacturing semiconductor? That is the question from Nilesh Kulkarni. Nilesh, so recently what we have seen that two, three announcement has come in the semiconductor. One is CG Power, which again that company belongs to Murugappa Group. So they have announced that so there are two JV partner. One is from Thailand and one is from basically Taiwan, if my memory is right. So they are going to set up a OSM plant, basically packaging plant for semiconductor, and that is likely to get operational by FY26. Similarly, Tata Group has announced two plants. One is in Gujarat and one is in Assam. But those Tata plants are not under any listed entity. That's under the Tata Electronic. And there is one more, one small company known as IRR Electronics. That's a very small company, 1200, 1300 crore market cap company. So they have announced some plan on working on semiconductor side. So these are a few companies which are at the forefront on semiconductor side. As we move ahead, we may see few more players jumping into this, and at the same time, the entire ecosystem of supply vendor, which will be benefiting out of this, will emerge gradually, because ultimately carbide is something which is one of the important things which will require for chemicals, right? For manufacturing semiconductors. So companies like Carborundum Universal, maybe again I am not sure, maybe one of the beneficiary. Few chemical companies will emerge to be beneficiary as these semiconductor plants are being set up. CNC machine manufacturers like Mac Power CNC, Jyoti CNC. So these are the few guys who may supply machines to all these semiconductor companies. So ecosystem is yet to evolve. As of now, semiconductor manufacturing is the first mover advantage will be to CG Power, Tata Electronics, and one smaller company known as IRR Electronics. The next question is from Rahul Nikamji. If Tesla established plant in India, what will be the opportunities for Indian small cap and mid cap auto ancillary company? So I think a lot has been discussed in media on this. So Tesla was supposed to set up a plant in India. Mr. Elon Musk was supposed to be in India on 22nd of April. However, the plan has been postponed. And as of now, what we are hearing is that the low cost vehicle manufacturing plant by Tesla in Mexico and India has been put on back burner. So that plan as of now has been shelved off, and we don't know when will this plant being set up in India. But definitely, in case the Tesla comes to India, there are many companies who are already supplying to Tesla. A few. So recently, we have seen RK Forging, where in tie-up with Tesla, but later on that contract got shelved off, cancelled. But this clearly shows that the product quality or something, the initial entry gate has been opened for RK Forging. Similarly, Sona BLW, Uno Minda, Samvardhana, Motherson Sumi. These are the few companies which are already supplying few products to the Tesla. But again, I would like to remind you that as of now, the plan has been cancelled by Tesla to set up a plant in India. Maybe post-election, we may hear something from them, and at that point of time, we will get to know who are the key beneficiaries who will benefit out of in case the Tesla set up the plant in India. Mahendra ji is asking question: unique auto manufacturer share. I think if I understood your question right, Mahendra, that you want to understand which are the few companies, the auto ancillary companies, which looks good from an investment perspective. So I think a few names where we are bullish on auto ants are Minda Corp. So this is the one of the company which we like within the auto ancillary space. Minda, Steel Strip Wheel, SSWL. So again, our call is also open on SSWL. Sharda Motor is one company which we like in the auto ancillary space. JT, KT India, Lumax. I think there are a whole lot of companies within the auto ancillary basket, and we have discussed the on entire list during the webinar. So, in case you want to jot down the entire list on auto ancillary companies, you can just go back, can go through the recording once this webinar is over. It will be available on YouTube, and you can jot down those companies at a later stage. So Mallikarjun ji, I think we have already discussed this semiconductor companies in India. So right now there are only 2-3 companies. One is CG Power, which is a listed entity. Tata Electronics, which is not listed as of now, and one is RIR Power Electronic. Again, that's a very small company. So risk return can be very high as far as RIR Power is concerned. Which are a good stocks to invest for EV and solar. I think for solar, again, what we feel is that right now solar EPC companies are making a lot of money. And to that extent, we have got a coverage on KPI Green. So that company look pretty good. But one has to keep in mind that the entire solar as a space has seen a massive run during the last 3 to 6 months. In fact, during the last 1 year. So stocks have gone 50x, 100x during the last few years. So I would advise a word of caution over here that don't get excited just by looking at the word solar. So we have already seen a massive uptick in the stock prices of companies like KPI Green or Oriana, or for that matter, Wari. So these were the few companies which were at forefront as far as solar EPC companies are concerned. Solar panel is something which is the forte of large players. So guys like Adani, Reliance, they are looking into that solar thing. And in terms of EV, again, EV is a very wide domain. So within EV, basically the bus electric bus sector is being catered by Olectra, JBM Auto. At the same time, companies like Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors have got a very strong presence in electric bus. Passenger vehicle, Tata Motors is a market leader as of now. Nexon is something which is commanding more than 80% market share. And coming to two-wheeler side, again, two-wheeler is a very a crowded market. So there are many players like Ola, which is not a listed. So we may see IPO of Ola very soon. Ather, which is again a part of Hero MotoCorp. So that is one of the key players. And then there are a whole lot of then there is a iQube, which is a popular product from TVS Motor. So that also doing well. Chetak is something which is a part of Bajaj Auto. Even that company is doing well. So I think there are many auto ants also companies which are part of this EV ecosystem. Companies like Gabriel, which is supplying shock absorber to all these electric two-wheelers player, right? So that will be one of the key beneficiary for this auto. EV space. EV on battery side, recently we have seen a tie-up of Hyundai and Kia with Exide. So Exide industry ultimately, so we have to that extent we have also seen good rally on Exide industry. So maybe buy on dip is something which one can look as far as Exide is concerned. Amara Raja is again can be one of the beneficiary. So I think the list is pretty long as far as EV and solar is concerned. So there is one suggestion that kindly do webinar on NBFC companies. So definitely your suggestion is well noted, and we will make sure that very soon you will have a one webinar on NBFC companies. So we'll try to explain the business model and which are the companies which we like within the NBFC sector. One question is from Bhavesh. Give views on Dynacom system. So I will request Sumit to look into the Dynacom thing. Meanwhile, let me take the few more questions. So Dynacom is something. Sumit, if you can look into the numbers and kindly share your view. Meanwhile, I will move on to the next question. So next question is from Mahendra ji. Semiconductor industry with automation, how will it affect? So I think ultimately, I think it's nothing but a migration of industry from import driven to domestic manufacturing. I think ultimately an entire new ecosystem will be created as far as the semiconductor industry is concerned. And automation is again something which is part and parcel of life. So there is an automation happening in everywhere, whether it is manufacturing sector or services sector, and I think that will help the organization to at least retain their margin profitability. And that is the way from a stock market perspective we have to ensure that the companies are able to grow their profit on a sustainable basis, and automation is the tool which will help them to sustain the profit. As far as semiconductor industry is concerned, I think our dependence on import will reduce significantly. So as of now, Taiwan is the one of the key supplier. So entire world is dependent on China, Taiwan for semiconductor chips. And going forward, for automation, chips are mandatory, and chips is something which is an heart and soul of automation. So I think ultimately it will make it will reduce our dependence on import, and that will help in long run as an Indian economy.
Yeah, answering Bhavesh's question on Dynacon's systems. So this is again a major player in the data center segment, wherein it is helping companies to set up the data centers. And as highlighted earlier, this theme on this sector is an emerging sector in India, with more and more data centers being set up by the likes of Google, Microsoft, as well as Adani Enterprise, Reliance Industries. Looking at the financials, also the uh, growth has been good, and the margins at 7 to 8%. So the key monitorable for this company will be how fast it can scale up its revenue, as that will drive the incremental margin as well as the profit growth. But based on the current financials, the growth has been pretty decent, as well as return ratios also are pretty healthy. So looking at the company in an emerging sector and with a high growth potential, the valuation also on a trailing 12-month basis looks attractive. But the company will need to keep growing its order book, as well as the scale of execution and the revenue growth to sustain the rally. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. Yeah. So I think So the next question is, please give view on Siemens and ABB. I think ultimately Siemens and ABB are also a part of this manufacturing ecosystem, and they are one of the key beneficiary of the way automation and electrification is ramping up in India. I think both the companies are rock solid companies, but one thing we have to keep in mind that the entire cap goods as the space has seen a massive re-rating. And right now, what I feel is that if somebody has got a medium-term view, I think positives are priced in the stock price. So maybe time-wise correction we may see. What I mean to say is that stock will continue to trade in a range-bound fashion for a quarter or two, and then probably start moving up once there is an clarity on new government. Once there is a further increase in order inflow for all these companies, at that point of time we may see some up move post that. So as of now, what I would suggest is that let for quarter March quarter numbers be out. Let us check the management outlook, and then probably we can take a call whether one should enter fresh, create a fresh position in Siemens and ABB. If you are holding on to both, if you are already invested in the company, I would recommend you to stay put in both these companies. Vaibhav is asking question: what is the entry price of Exide battery? I think. So recently we have seen a 52-week high of close to 482, and the stock has just corrected marginally 3-4%. And we have seen a strong up move from levels of maybe 320 to kind of 480, so kind of 100, 101, 120 rupees up move. So usually what happens is that whenever stock rallies significantly, the next deep is usually between the 10 to 15%. So maybe if you take a 10% from of a 482, maybe close to just a minute. Yeah, so maybe close to 400. I would recommend that a risk reward will be slightly favorable for Exide industry. The next question is from name is missing. How can we take best benefit of manufacturing sector by investing in mutual fund, small case, picking stock of you? So I think there are multiple way you can. If you are new to market, HDFC mutual fund is launching a new mutual fund NFO on manufacturing sector. So that NFO is likely to open on 26th of April. That is the day after tomorrow, and it will be open for 10th till the 10th of May. So I think mutual fund is a one way of capturing this entire manufacturing as a theme. At the same time, there are few guys who may be capturing through small case also. So I'm not aware about who is managing the small case, particularly related to manufacturing sector. Coming to the stock picking, I think we keep on sharing our ideas on various manufacturing companies across the various sectors. So you definitely can participate through our ideas also in manufacturing as a sector. But in case you are novice, first time investor, I would recommend you to deploy your money through mutual fund. HDFC is coming up with a manufacturing in mutual fund, thematic mutual fund on manufacturing sector, and that will really help you. Chetan is asking question, put light on ITC and hotel demerger, should be right time to buy. I think Chetan, with the BAT British tobacco company, that deal behind us, I think ITC is in sweet spot. Hotel demerger, definitely it's kind of value unlocking as far as ITC is concerned. You can deploy money in ITC, but you have to keep your expectation low. So right now ITC is trading close to 430, 440 band. I think the fair value of the company is close to 480 to 500 band. So that is something which one can expect return as far as ITC is concerned. So it's a portfolio stock. maybe a kind of 12 to 13% compounded annual growth rate return is something one should expect from ITC in a medium to long term. So Mukesh ji is asking question on Uniparts is the beneficial. So Mukesh ji, I think Unipart again operates in a very niche segment, but one has to keep in mind that Unipart is predominantly generating revenue from an export market, especially from a US market, right? So that market is not doing well, and hence we are seeing a kind of flattish growth as far as Unipart is concerned. But again, in terms of business, that's a very unique niche business with a robust in a good time. Few quarters back, the company used to clock EBITDA margin north of 20%, and auto and company clocking 20% plus margin is the sign, a very good sign. But of late, we have seen that company is kind of making a flattish profit. Margins are under pressure, and to that extent, we have already seen a stock price correction. So from here on, maybe stock may not correct significantly. It may continue to trade sideways. In case you are a patient investor, long-term investor, you can gradually accumulate Unipart through SIP route over the period of next 2 to 3 months, and then take call on. But again, the investment horizon has to be slightly longer because ultimately we have to rely on recovery in the US and European market. Amit is asking what about ASM Technology and SPEL Semiconductor. So again, I think these are the small cap names which keeps on floating pertaining to the semiconductor. But to be very honest, let these companies showcase their forte in terms of manufacturing. If I see the numbers as of now, ASM Technology is a loss-making company. Despite of that, we are seeing the market cap is close to 1,300 crore. So I would like to first wait for the companies to showcase their number, and then probably put my money as far as ASM is concerned. So better to stick to a better name in this industry for if somebody want to ride a semiconductor as a sector. The next question is from Krishna ji. Focus on demerger of Tata Motors. So yeah, I think the demerger of Tata Motors is definitely a positive move that will unlock the value as far as the Tata Motors is concerned. But to that extent, we have already seen a rally in Tata Motors, right? The stock has moved up significantly during the last 1 year from 400, 500 band to close to 900, 2000 band. And to that extent, I think right now it is trading close to fair value. Let the demerger will again take time. It is a 9 to 12 month process, so it is some time away for shareholders of Tata Motors to get the demerge entity shares. It is some time away. I think maybe till that time, stock will continue to hover in the band of 900 to maybe 1100 rupees. I think we are running out of time, but let me take last 2, 3 questions. So, can you share, throw some light on Alok Industries again? Mallikarjun ji, I think the company has been taken over by Reliance, and Reliance is trying to turn around this company. We have recently seen fund infusion from Reliance also through a fixed income instrument. But again, it's a slightly, I think, the recovery which is expected is not being seen in the numbers. So I would like to wait and watch in Alok Industry. Let the company showcase the number in terms of growth and profitability, and then probably one can make a position. There are many good companies which are available in textile industry, profitable company, Wellspun Living, Indocount, Himmat Singha Seed. So there are many good companies which are available in textile sector. Why to go with the Alok Industry, which is I know that looking at a stock price, one may get excited. Penny stock is something which attracts every one of us, but I think we should focus on profitable companies, and there are many good businesses which are available at decent valuation in textile industry. The next question is from Rahul on view on Moship technology. So I think Sumit, if you can look into this company Moship, meanwhile I will answer other questions. So Vinita ji is asking question which companies are involved in manufacturing new age technology devices for defense sector. So again, see, defense sector is something like an auto sector, right? So there are many companies who will be making small parts of this defense as a company, a defense company. So for example, BEML, BEML is the expertise, sorry, BEL, Bharat Electronic. They are expertise in making electronic product for the defense as a product. Companies like Azad Engineering, these are the recently listed company. The company is has got an expertise on aerospace and defense as a sector. So there are many smaller companies which are supplying part to the main OEM player in defense sector. Similarly, Paras Defense is one company, Data Pattern is one company. So there are many small companies. The ecosystem works like an auto and auto ancillary industry. So there is one big OEM companies like HAL which will manufacture an helicopter, and then there will be many smaller players which will be supplying components to all these larger OEM players. So every player has got an expertise in a certain product. So there are a whole lot of small players which are doing a case in point, a premier explosive. So they are experts or they have got a license to manufacture explosive, which is required for space technology and all this defense. So I think there are many small players which are into this manufacturing of new age devices for the defense sector.
Yeah, answering the question on Moship technology. So this is a designing company that basically designs the semiconductors, and it essentially you can consider it as a sort of software services company. It has presence at in multiple centers in India, so similar to IT companies, and the companies has also become eligible for the design linked incentive scheme of the government, which is over the period of 5 years it would receive incentives based on the revenue that it generates in the semiconductor segment. Now the stock again has seen a big rise in the last few days, so one should have a longer horizon to invest in these companies, because since semiconductors is just the start, the ecosystem in India is not yet developed. So there will be risks from the point of view of certain products not doing well, or certain designs of the company not getting approved from the global client. So one should have a longer horizon with these companies. The valuation currently trailing 12 month also is very elevated, and looking at the PNL, it has only recently started generating profits. So one should yes, these companies would provide a avenue for entering into the semiconductor ecosystem, but again with a longer view horizon of about say 10 years, and with a certain amount of caution as well.
Yeah, thanks, Sumit. Next question is from, so we will take last two, three questions. Yeah. So the next question is from Chetan Shettigar. Chetan ji is asking, Pilani Investment Holding was recommended by SBI Cap, which is giving more than 100% return. Is SBI giving similar kind of thematic report in manufacturing sector? So thanks, Chetan, for reminding us on this thematic report. In fact, that Sumit and myself, we have crafted that report an year back, and it was a very we were lucky that we were able to catch all these companies at a lower rate, and all these holding companies have delivered fantastic return during the last 8 to 12 months. And in terms of whether we are coming out whether on a thematic report in manufacturing sector, so right now we are covering an individual companies through various our thematic report. So like Sumit has already covered Sirma, SGS, under the Rising Star. Similarly, we are covering various companies through our rockstars of quarterly results. There are many manufacturing companies, Blue Star, and so on and so forth. But your suggestion noted. We will think over it if we can come out with some thematic report on manufacturing as a sector. Yeah, thanks, Chetan. Yeah. Uh, Prabhaji asking questions, sir, view on Bata India. So, Prabhaji, I think right now the footwear as a sector continue to remain under trouble, and the street is hopeful that maybe FY25, where in case there is a normal monsoon, the impact of inflation will be lesser, and to that extent, we may see some demand revival, especially from a rural belt. From a stock price perspective, I think stock price will, I think downside is limited at the current juncture. The stock price are already discounting all the negative factors. But in terms of stock price appreciation, maybe a street will wait for a quarter or two in terms of performance revival, financial performance. So right now the financial performance is not up to mark, and that is the reason we are seeing an underperformance in Bata India. So I would recommend you to wait and watch. Let the company declare their March quarter number, and then post that we can form a view on Bata India. And we will take a last question from George. What is the view on Idea? If I understood, you are asking the question on Vodafone Idea. So I think Vodafone Idea, again, what I feel is that post this FPO, the company has got a lifeline in for next 2 years. So earlier there was a threat that company has to wind down because of the heavy debt burden. And with this funding of 18,000 crore coming through FPO route, I think at least the survival is not an issue as far as Vodafone Idea is concerned. In terms of whether one should invest capital in Vodafone Idea, I think if somebody is an conservative investor, I think Bharti Airtel is a better bet, where we all know that profits are already healthy, a company sitting on healthy profitability, healthy customer base. Vodafone Idea is a kind of bet on turnaround companies, you can say, right? So although there is a lifeline for next 2 year, the company need to deliver on profitability, and that is something which is subject to the increase in multiple factors. The one of the important factor is increasing telecom tariff, which is likely to be post election. Then the further 2 years down the line, there is a heavy obligation which close to 1 lakh crore kind of debt obligation which Vodafone need to pay to the government of India. However, the problem has been kicked down the lane for the 2 years. So maybe I would like to ride Vodafone Idea as a trading bet rather than investment bet. And if I want to deploy my money in a good company, then I think one can play that through Bharti Airtel. In fact, the newly listed Bharti Hexacom, which is the predominantly a play on Rajasthan circle, even that company looks attractive. And one can ride through Geo Financial, Geo Telecom through Reliance Industry. Vodafone, I would like to involve in my trading bet, maybe taking help of technicals, then you can ride on Vodafone Idea. But if you ask me personally whether I would deploy my money in Vodafone Idea, so I would stay away from Vodafone Idea at the current juncture. Yeah, I think we have covered most of the questions today, and it's close to now 5:45. So I think thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for patiently listening to us and attending this webinar. Look forward to your support and participation in the webinars which we will conduct as a regular activity during the next 12 months. Thank you everyone. Thanks, Sumit.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.